Will the Ukraine war take a nuclear turn? It's a loaded question. Let's find out. Hello and welcome. My name is Priyanka Sharma and you're watching Gravitas Plus. On the 30th of September, Russian President Vladimir Putin signed some agreements. He incorporated 4 Ukrainian territories into Russia. These ones: Luhansk, Donetsk, Zaporizhia, and Kherson. While signing these agreements, Putin said, "We will defend our land with all forces and resources we have." What did he mean? Did he want the word resources to be read as nuclear? That Moscow will defend its land with all its forces and nuclear warheads that it has. Russia, by the way, has the world's largest nuclear arsenal. And now let's rewind a little more. On the 21st of September, Putin said he's not bluffing about the use of nuclear weapons. Let me quote him. "When the territorial integrity of our country is threatened, we of course will use all the means at our disposal to protect Russia and our people. This is not a bluff, and those who try to blackmail us with nuclear weapons should know that the weather vane can turn and point towards them." Then on the 3rd of October, a train operated by Russia's nuclear division was spotted moving towards Ukraine. The world couldn't help but take notice. I ask again, was Putin really preparing for a nuclear attack? Let me be clear. We are not warmongering. We are just asking a simple question. What are the chances that Putin will press the button? Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky says it's hard to say. The Western media, however, has a lot to say. Let me show you now. Nukes are a risky option, warns the NYT. The Atlantic says Putin's threats show that he's panicking. There is also speculation on the kind of weapons that Russia could use. Actually, let's dip into that for a moment now. What does Russia have up its sleeve? Like I said, Russia has the world's largest nuclear arsenal. We are talking about some 6,000 nuclear weapons. And this is according to ICAN, the international campaign to abolish nuclear weapons. Russia's nuclear weapons range from about 10 to 100 kilotons. Just to give you a point of reference, the bomb that was dropped on Hiroshima, it was the size of one of the smallest weapons that Russia has. The Kremlin's nuclear warhead can be launched from ground, dropped from airplanes, or even blasted off from ships. What about Ukraine? If Russia does fire a nuclear weapon, what does Ukraine have to defend itself or to retaliate? Nothing much, just a regrettable history. Ukraine does not have nuclear weapons, but it once did. I'm talking about 1991. When the Soviet Union collapsed, Ukraine inherited a large nuclear arsenal. But Kiev gave the weapons away. To whom? Any guesses? Russia. In 1994, an agreement was signed. Under it, Ukraine gave up its nuclear weapons. And Russia pledged to respect Ukraine's borders. It is 2022, and Russia has become the single biggest threat to Ukraine's existence. So what happens if Putin presses the button? Who will come to Ukraine's rescue? The US has already warned of severe consequences. And here's what Zelensky has to say. He understands after the use of nuclear weapons, he will not have anything more to preserve, so to speak, his life. I'm confident of that. That is what Zelensky says. In fact, some Western countries are gearing up for the possibility of the war spilling over. Poland, for one, says it is open to having nuclear weapons on its territory. Poland does not possess such technology. It is proposing to host American nukes. Here's what the Polish President Andrzej Duda has to say. I quote, "We have spoken with American leaders about whether the United States is considering such a possibility. The issue is open." Here's something else that's happened. The US has set aside $290 million to buy a particular drug. It's called Nplate, and it is a blood disorder medicine. This drug has been approved to treat radiation sickness, or what medics call acute radiation syndrome. This happens as a result of exposure to high levels of radiation, say from a nuclear explosion. Similar preparations are also underway in Ukraine. The Kiev City Council is handing out potassium iodide pills to residents. In case of a nuclear attack, these pills can limit the damage. Now, what kind of damage are we talking about? What happens in the case of a nuclear explosion? In just 10 seconds, I repeat, just 10 seconds, the fireball from the explosion reaches its maximum size. A huge amount of energy is released. There's heat, there's radiation. Almost everything close to ground zero vaporizes. Those at a distance suffer lung injuries, ear damage, internal bleeding. The extreme heat ignites fires, people suffer burns. And those in underground shelters also can die as a result of carbon monoxide poisoning. The last time a nuclear weapon was used was way back in 1945. On the 6th and 9th of August, the US destroyed Hiroshima and Nagasaki. At least 210,000 people died. The rest is history. So will Putin want to follow former US President Harry Truman's path? Here's why he could. 1. He has the appetite for risk. Remember, Putin annexed Crimea, invaded Ukraine, dared the West to try and stop him. 7 months into the war, Putin signed Ukrainian territories into Russia. 2. All said and done, the war is not really going in Russia's favor. Russian forces were driven out of Kiev's outskirts. They managed to capture Kharkiv, but failed to defend it. Just like they failed to defend the town of Liman, Kupiansk, Izium. Russia could very well launch a nuclear war to reverse its losses. Or maybe Putin just wants the world to think that he could go to that length. This, the nuclear threat, could very well be nuclear blackmail. At least that's what some Western experts think. They point at Putin's talent for mind games. Did you know Putin once brought a dog to his meeting with former German Chancellor Angela Merkel? He knew she's uneasy around furry animals. Putin is unfathomably brave, and you've got to give it to him. Western experts say that Putin could be staging the fear of a nuclear escalation just to get a good political bargain. Western leaders, however, don't subscribe to this analysis. Biden says that Putin is not joking when he talks about the potential use of tactical nuclear weapons or biological or chemical weapons. So we are back to the question we started with. Will the Ukraine war take a nuclear turn? What are the chances that Putin will press the button? Very dim. At least that's what we would like to think and hope. And I'll tell you why. 1. A nuclear attack will escalate the war. Biden is referring to a nuclear Armageddon. FYI, Armageddon is a biblical reference to the last battle between good and evil before the day of judgment. Simply put, it's a conflict with the potential to end the world. The West has so far only helped Ukraine externally. A nuclear attack could change that. It may force Western powers to march to the front lines. 2. A nuclear blast in Ukraine will contaminate Russia. You cannot ignore the proximity between the two countries. Coming to point number 3. Pressing the nuclear button would mean a complete diplomatic and economic isolation of Russia. My question is, can the Kremlin risk that? Point number 4, the backlash at home. Kremlin watchers say people are not too happy with Putin, not even those in his inner circle. One journalist says all of them are in shock. None of them wanted to see the development unfold in such a way because they are going to lose everything. Think about that. So can Putin afford to alienate himself from his circle of oligarchs? Putin has thrived on his image of stability. He has thrived on being at the helm of the regime. That's quite a contrast to the turbulent times of his predecessor, Boris Yeltsin. This war has wrecked that image entirely. A nuclear turn could wreck Putin's political career for good. A Levada Center poll found that only 23% of Russians felt a sense of pride following Putin's announcement of a partial mobilization on the 21st of September. But Vladimir Putin is a gambler, and the West is trying to call his bluff. The two sides have turned the Ukraine war into a food war, an energy war. Will it now become a nuclear war? Let's hope not.